Okay, it's time to make a video about MBTI, and I figure my beer is coming off in like a few days, so I figure I should make this fucker now while I could trick y'all and make you think I look scholarly and academic and wise and I know what I'm talking about, because clearly I don't. So I wanted to make a video mostly, well, completely, entirely, and totally about the flaws and issues in the online MBTI community. Now we're going to go off of some assumptions with this video, and I'm going to qualify some of these things straight from the start. Extroversion, as I'm talking about it in this video. I am speaking about extroversion simply in the way of when two people's paths cross. So I'm speaking of it specifically interacting with people. We extrovert in different ways. Obviously, any Dom is going to use more extroversion CPU power. If we just broke down the functions to their simplicity, like extroversion, introversion, thinking, feeling, and so on, and not the actual function stack like NE, NI, TI, TE, and so on. So by that, just to clarify a little further, if you take the most extroverted of introverts, the ISFJ, and you took the most introverted of extroverts, the ENTP is going to definitely, without question, use more extroversion. But the ISFJ is probably going to have more people interacting time. The extrovert, the ENTP, may be more fluid and good with interacting with people, less awkward than potentially the ISFJ, although ISFJs are extremely capable when it comes to interacting with people and reading people. Well, alright, fuck it, I'm just gonna go with that. Anyway, but for the purpose of this video, I'm speaking specifically about interacting with other humans. So here's kind of the flaw that, and here's another assumption. Wait, let's go with this. Let's go with the other assumption that all 16 MBTI types use the internet equally. Maybe ESFP is using it to shop more. And so you're not maybe having those intersections that I'm speaking about where two people cross, their paths cross and they interact. INTP may be using it more in terms of gaming and so on. And so you're not going to necessarily have paths cross with them unless you're in a very specific area and it's not MBTI related. Now, additionally, intuitives predominantly, I mean, they dominate the MBTI world. So you kind of have this paradox where you end up interacting with a disproportionate number of introverted intuitives on the internet. Now, if we were to assign a point system for each of the function stack and then rate each type based on how much they need to extrovert, in my specific example with people or interact with people, you would have the INTP and INTJ and INFP as the very most introverted three. Now, y'all can fight amongst yourself who's probably the most introverted. It's a toss-up to me. Next, you would have the ENTP. Doesn't totally make sense that the ENTP would come before the INFJ, but they do. We don't have our FE as our third function, whereas for an INFJ, it's their second function. So they need more interaction time with people. When you see ENTP out and about, we're probably like blah 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 blah. We seem like super extroverts, but that's just a very small sliver of us. That's like the tip of the iceberg, and the majority of us is. I mean, I literally probably would. I would make a INFJ blush with how much time I need alone and how introverted I tend to be. After the INFJ, so we'd have the INFP, INTP, INTJ, then the ENTP, then we'd have the INFJ, and then we would have the ENFP. Now, I get it, the ENFP doesn't have the FE that the ENTP does, but they're FI, they're very experience driven, so they tend to be out and about having experiences with people. Now, this is basically who dominates the online MBTI community. So the entire online MBTI community, be it forums, Facebook groups, YouTube videos, and so on, they're probably watched, made for, made by, or whatever. What was that? 6 types. These 6 types. The 2 extroverts that tend to dominate those areas. The ENTPs like to troll and interact with people. It's kind of our people watching time. The ENFPs, they tend to get on there. You know, I don't know. I don't know what the fuck. I'm sorry. Yeah, the ENFPs. I don't know what they're doing. They're probably high and listening to, like, I don't know what they listen to, but they're probably high and they're listening to some music that I probably don't like. That probably has some group name like the Rusted Banjo or some shit, because their music, it's always like just a little off for me. It just doesn't sound right to my ears. But so they're doing their thing. So the problems that come with this is, you know, we have the probably the harshest. You don't see a ton of INTJs, INTPs, and ENTPs, but when I think about it, you do have the 3 NTs and the 3 NFs really actually have, you know, there's an equal presence there of the thinkers and the feelers. So that's interesting, but I think they interact different. I think the INTJs and INTPs sort of keep to themselves. The ENTPs are out there trolling. The ENFPs are trying to help everybody, and then the 2 INFs are just busy affirming the shit out of each other. And you know, that's another issue, is the mistyping between INFPs and INFJ groups. If you join the different groups, it's almost hard to see a distinction between them. And I can understand if you don't look at their first extroverted function. When you type an introvert like that, you really need to focus on, are they using the NE or are they using the FE? Without focusing on that, they kind of present very similarly, and so it gets hard to tell them apart. Typically, in my experience, if you tell somebody they're not an INFJ, if they think they are, the real INFJs are going to be happy about it. They're going to be like, what? I might not be? Oh my God, that's awesome. Yeah. Okay, cool. What else could I be? You know, they're like, fuck, thank God. Maybe there's a cure for this shit. The INFPs, the occasional ISFJ that like somehow mistyped and then thought it was really cool and they want to be that type, they're gonna fight more that they're probably a INFJ. That's my experience with mistyping them. But it's really hard to tell, and you jump into groups and it's a lot of, I like red, do you like red? I love grapes. Grapes are my favorite food. What's your favorite food? Like, it's a lot of that bullshit, but it's a lot of affirmation, and it's really not really shoving the growth envelope. And it's the same with the YouTube videos. You know, I made a video about INTPs potentially being on the spectrum. INTPs don't give a fuck. They see that shit. You can make a video, whatever. They're just like, whatever. But if you make a video and you say why I hate INFJs, if you look at the analytics to that video, it's absolutely amazing. It's like crack for INFJs. They just can't resist the fact that somebody isn't affirming their ideas of themselves. And did this video fall apart? I mean, I have so much on my mind, you know, and that's what gets really difficult is I really like, you know, I see the issues in the community. I see the flaws in the community. I see shifts over the last 2 decades. I mean, I've been there from the beginning of the online MBTI community, so I've seen shifts and trends where mistyped types kind of infiltrate a group, and then all of a sudden an attribute of a mistyped type gets attached to the other type that never had it. The door slam being a good example. I always thought of the door slam as an INFP thing, and it's somehow come into this, like, turned into this INFJ superpower. Lastly, you know, you don't see the most extroverted intuitive would be the well, I mean, you'd have the you'd have the ESFJ, ESFP, ISFJ. That would be on the most extroverted end of the scale. By the time you got to the intuitives, The most intuitive, or the most extroverted intuitive, would be the ENFJ. You don't really see them in the online communities much. They're they're kind of socialites. They're interacting with people more. You never see INTJs in the groups. You know, they're out there overthrowing something or taking over the world or pulling some kind of fucking scheme or some shit. I don't know what they're doing. They're like, they're their own thing. They're taking over the world or something. They're reptilians. Let's just call them reptilians. So you don't see a lot of them either. But the whole point to all of this is that there's no point to any of this. This video has no point, and that the MBTI community online is highly disproportionate and misrepresented by 6 of the 16 types, and it tends to be highly overly affirming to the two types that are unable to handle any criticism, the INFs, and the ENTPs are trolling the shit out of everybody, and the INTPs are just sitting making memes all day long, and the INTJs are just being cynical and thinking that they're better than everybody and correcting everybody, and the ENFPs are wondering why the fuck everybody can't just get along and smoke weed. And I'm pretty sure, did I miss anybody? The INFJs just want to be special little snowflakes, and they want everybody to tell them how special they are, and they're not that special because, well, who the fuck is? That's it. That's my summary. I think this video fell apart, but fuck it, I'm going to post it anyways because I got the beard, and it doesn't matter what I say. It makes me look smarter. Bye.